Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blah. Alan Robson with you, of course. And we have a blast of a show today. I've got all kinds of stuff that you guys have sent in that you want me to comment on. Happy to do that. The Blah traditionally was just a debrief of what we did on our last show, which, of course, was Jesmond Dean, no less, and surrounds. It seems you loved it. Thank you. Graham loved it. It looked spooky as hell. Jenny, looking forward to the Blah. She was waiting for you. Thank you very much, Jenny. Anthony, I caught all sorts moving about. Tremendous. Pat, looking forward to the Blah. Julie, can't believe that so many people have never been into Jesmond Dean. Me too. It's right there. It's as central to Newcastle city centre as it could be for a space of that size. An awful lot of people haven't been in there. So, did we catch anything? I'm told that we did. Martin said there was a certain clip at a certain time, and I got Tony to cut out that clip. And what was said was that if you look, there's someone breathing behind Alan. Here's the clip. It's only a couple of minutes. I've looked at it twice now. Can't see it. But then again, if you remember when we showed you there was images of the monk in the woods, an awful lot of you didn't see it till about the third and fourth time. This will be the last time I play it. So you've only got one chance to spot something dark breathing directly behind me. Now, yes, it is a moment where we catch something like a huge breeze block being dropped. But other than that, I'm really not seeing it. Here is a clip, just a tiny little soupçon of Jesmond.
Look at that. There's the mill. There's an old mill by a stream, Nelly Dean. Oh, Nelly Dean. Bushy's on his way too. I can see his torchlight. Look at this. Doesn't matter where you are. It's a wet, rainy night. Look at the glories that we're showing you this evening. And always look out for the various spirit that's said to walk here. Somewhere along this river is that it was called a gilded pond, where the ancients would make their tributes in memory of those that had gone before. Before we leave, we're going down that dark bit.
Yeah, I don't know where that leads, but
I have no idea. No idea. But here is the mill. Look at the massive water wheel used to grind all that corn. Corn that would feed the poor. I think it was just great sending Paul, after he'd felt something as vivid as having his colour pulled. Huge spider, Tony. See him? You got to see him. He's big enough, the size of a budgie. You see him?
pretty big.
Look at this place. The old mill. Once owned by Paddy Freeman and then the Ridleys. People have said that they've seen spirit here at the old water corn mill. It's been here since 1739. Oh, do you hear that?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's like stone.
It sounded
moving.
it sounded like it was just in here.
Can't imagine anyone moving stone at this
That
time.
was like, that wasn't like a pebble or anything. That was like,
Did you see any? Did you? frustrating as hell when somebody says, I saw it, it was there, it was there. I didn't get it. 3 times now. I don't know. Nice little clip. I still think one of the most dramatic things I've ever seen in any of my trips anywhere on the planet was that cathedral of trees and that strange, almost theatrical, sacred site just tucked away around the corner. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Also, Tony's doing a thing with photographs. Now, the image is of the team. Boom, there it is. And what you get is, apparently you get the picture, the image itself, signed by the squad, and you get one of these mementos. Now, it is a pentacle, or a pentagram if you prefer, a fire and water, earth, sky, and spirit. And these are quite special. They've been blessed. We have 40 of them. And they represent the love between people. So the idea is it should be act as to give you good luck and protection. I've got one hanging from the mirror in my car at the moment, have had for a number of years now. And Tony is flogging them, and it'll all obviously go to support the site and the things that we do to get us into some of the places that we go to. If you would like such a thing, when would you like us? There's only 40. So what we're going to do is we're going to say at a certain time, starting at exactly 8 o'clock one evening, what evening would you like that to happen? Stick it in the comments when you would like this to run. Could be any time. It could be tomorrow. It could be Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday. And what time would work for you to know that they're becoming available online? First 40 clicks we get some signed pictures and the protective amulet. So that's what Tony's doing at the present moment. If you would like them, when would you like us to put them online? We don't want to do it near a show because it just gets in the way, then you miss the show. So Wednesday, Thursday, sometime in the evening, when, what, to suit you, because this is something that Tony's doing to try and help the show and get us into other places, especially coming up to Christmas. So other things, a couple of books that you know that we have out at the present moment as well. In the Footsteps of Jack the Ripper. There is also an audio version of that called Walking in the Footsteps of Jack the Ripper on Robson's World, and the same for this, Walking in the Footsteps of Adolf Hitler, if you want them for your Kindle. Perfect time of year to market such things. So there you go, that's them. Roy, I loved Roy for this. Thank you, Roy. It was every week I seem to get at least one text or email that makes me go, I'm doing something right. And it was Roy this week. He says, really looking forward to the blah this week. You killed it last week, Alan, which of course makes me then say, well, I'm going to have to kill it even more this week. And I'm hoping when he says you killed it, I hope that's a positive and not a negative, because it could kind of slide both ways. Claire sent me a message that she didn't mean to send. Don't worry about them. Tony, obviously, Hollywood McShane has been my producer on radio for years. He has had more messages that I meant to send Jennifer over the weeks and months, and some of them have been, and years, and some of them have been well embarrassing. Some good, some not so good. And Tony says, I'm sure this is not for me. And then usually 10 laughing faces, which really never makes me feel any better about them. Rai sent this in. He's just been interviewing some wrestling stars, which is great. I've been lucky enough over the years to interview a few and wrestle a couple. Rowdy Roddy, I don't know whether, if you're not into wrestling, forgive this bit, but these are some of the people that I've met. Some relatively recent wrestlers and some from way back. Rowdy Roddy Piper came into the show, co-hosted a rock show with me. Also, we've had The Undertaker, and from way back, from the time of Kent Walton, when it was British wrestling on the TV. And this is a time even before Big Daddy. And it was Mick McManus and Vic Faulkner. and a load of others. And Mick McManus, who was a baddie in the world of wrestling, thought it was a really fun idea during a talk show of mine that he was on TNT's to lift me up and slam me on the floor. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And also, Rye also tells me that he's still got the kidney stone of mine that we stuck in as a daft prize in a competition, and he's still got it. And that was the one that literally did come down the end of Big Jim. Also, Marianne sent me a very long text. I'm glad that she did. And I think she felt a bit worried that she would offend me in any shape or form. Not at all. Last week, at the very last moment, I gathered together one or two pictures of things associated with Queen Elizabeth I and Henry VIII. And I said one was a coin. I thought it was. And it wasn't. It was, in fact, and she quite rightly tells me, that it was a wonderfully detailed Royal Elizabethan seal. So it was the imprint that she would put on wax on her letters and documents, etc. Brilliant to know. And also, she said, the lock that you featured was a lock from a portable door lock that Henry VIII carried around with him everywhere to help keep him secure. I think all of that is absolutely fascinating. I didn't get it. You did. You guys will always know more than I do in various areas. And I never mind you telling me, because then I know. So you've added to what I know too, and I'm very grateful for it. So never ever worry about all that kind of stuff. I understand mistakes. I make so many of them. That's why they put rubber on the end of pencils. And also, Mac says, great knowledge on the Jesmond show. As a Battle Hill lad, or kid, sorry, I spent many days there in Jesmond. Jordan sent a spiel in saying how much he's loving it. Also, Roy, and a different Roy to the other Roy that's already been on, Roy says that he has some friends in Jamaica, and Jamaica is really under the cosh tonight. So if you can't spare a positive thought or two, I've got some family and friends over there. 46-inch floodwater coming in from the coast, literally in the eye of the storm of a hurricane with winds up to 140 miles an hour. Jamaica, right at this minute, is in a great deal of trouble, especially when you realize that an awful lot of the houses there are literally tin, and this will be a major disaster for them. And it's funny because you hear stories of people when the flood water comes in and you think, oh, well, it can't be that bad. We were in Jamaica not that long ago Tony and I doing a full week of live shows. And after we'd done Night Owls, and this is obviously 2 o'clock in the morning here, but back there, I think we finished at 9 o'clock with the time difference. And at 9 o'clock, we thought, oh, we got time to go across the road to a restaurant that we quite liked. When we came out of the front door, there'd been a storm surge and water had come in, and it was 3.5 foot deep. So rather than stay in the hotel and just go up a floor and order room service, because they were doing that, where all of the radio stations were broadcasting from, there were 8 stations, I think. We were the only one on at nighttime. And we said, well, let's go across to our own bed. But there was 4 feet of water in between, and it was really fast moving, and you don't appreciate the speed of that. And we went across from one side of the road to the other, wading. The water was literally kind of here, and it shrunk me trainers. New Balance, I expected better, but it shrank them, so I couldn't put them on the very next day when they dried. But waded across there, went into the hotel, spent the whole night looking out of the window as cars got sucked out to sea from the car parks nearby. Unbelievable. Yeah. And that was 4 feet of water. In some places, 46 feet of water hitting Jamaica right now. So please spare a thought for them. Michael said, Alan, last week you did a quotation about people's attitude to getting older. I have many examples of this where I work. People who are generally old before their time because they give in. Instead of they're rocking on, they just give in. Now, I do admit I am so old that on some nights I have to wee 4 times. And on at least 2 occasions, I'll get out of bed. Also, this one says, "Hi, Alan. One of my favorite shows that you did was the one where you went underwater in Loch Ness." And he then uses the sh word. He says shit, frankly. "I never jumped so high as you were in the water and something spun you around. Almost 8 months after that, I discovered that it was my uncle who supplied you with the diving suit. He met you in Fort William." Yes, he did. And if he's the man I'm thinking of, his name is Duncan, and he was lovely. So thank him very much. Haven't got any particular new pictures, but what I thought I would do is just show you. Yeah, there are monsters in Loch Ness. There are monsters there. Now, I know you might say, "Don't believe that." There are monsters there. There's a 20-foot sturgeon, we know for sure. 20 feet sturgeon, massive. Dolphins, sharks. I didn't find this out till after I'd been spun by something. Sometimes seals in Loch Ness too. So we know those kind of things exist. The thing that scared me the most, and I didn't find out till I was outside, I was standing on some rocks. And you know when you stand on a rock and it tips and knocks your foot in the water? Something swam out from under the rock that was about 15 to 20 foot long. I mean, immense. And it was about this thick, and it was an eel. And when I looked in the water, there was about 20 of these things. Not all as big as that, but a lot of these black eels. So there are monsters there. These are some genuine images that people have captured of the Loch Ness Monster. See what you think they could possibly be. And I know some of you will think, "Oh, well, that's obviously fake," or whatever. Because people say that about this kind of stuff. Fact is, nobody really knows. And also, when you realize there's more water in Loch Ness than in all of the other lakes in Britain put together. These are all images that have been captured. This one is more interesting. This was taken by Peter Scott, the naturalist. And to me, it looks absolutely like the fin of some kind of creature like a plesiosaur. This was another image also taken by Sir Peter Scott. Look at that, long neck. Does that not look like a plesiosaur? Down in the depths. This is a picture, I think, of that sturgeon I was telling you about. Huge sturgeon. Now, that's the first image that started all of this off. Things like this, I think there's an explanation for this one. Doesn't that look like a seal at the front? Could that not just be a couple of seals mucking about? Don't know whether it is, but it's what I say about all the stuff we do. Discount 95% and look for the stuff that you can't explain. Also, Lloyd sent me a message this week. These are the ones that really puzzle me. First of all, do I know anybody called Lloyd? I know a couple of people called Lloyd. Did I know any people called Lloyd when I was little? No. It says, "Alan, you used to come and see me on Osborne Road. Do you still love your cricket?" I've never loved cricket. Never. I played cricket. I used to be a wicketkeeper for the school. After the school gave up cricket, except for the odd charity match, gave it up completely. Don't like cricket. Takes too long. Find it a bit dull. If you love cricket, that's fine. That's cool. Just it doesn't ring my bell. But Lloyd says, "You used to come and see me on Osborne Road." I really didn't. And also, I used to live on St. George's Terrace briefly. Scary time in my life. Do you still love your cricket? I don't know who he is. Since getting on the wireless, a lot of people have contacted me about how they knew me and how they hung out with me. in some cases, people just tell their pals that because they're from the West End, and I was from the West End. So they say, oh, I used to hang out with Alan Robson. Okay. You tell them, I'll go along with it. But don't be specific like this, because I obviously had no idea who that was. Anyway, Brian says, he walks past the assembly rooms to get to his job at St. James's Park. And he says, I've got a really strange story. I've heard about the assembly rooms, about someone dying. Well, we did the assembly rooms. And if you remember, we came across the balcony where the girl stripped some of her clothes off and leapt to her death. And we also found on a mirror in there the name Elizabeth, as if it had been written in dust on something really old. It hadn't just been done. It had obviously been done there a while because it was like a smear. But we saw that. And the name was Elizabeth. And I think that is great because we later discovered that the person who leapt off the balcony was Elizabeth, married to a very wealthy man. So that was pretty cool. So onwards. Oh, this is... You guys have a habit of dragging me into icky. And that's okay. I mean, on the radio show, I was up to me chin and icky most nights. But anyway, he says, Alan, I have just been told that you have diabetes. I must say it has not stopped you at all. I have just been diagnosed after a horrible case of thrush, brackets, down there. Eek. Nothing worse than when your portion looks like an entire mushroom farm. He says, we never hear celebrities talking about this kind of stuff, ever. Who else has had trouble below the belt? So I had a scrat about syphilis. Let's go syphilis. It's not with diabetes, don't worry, but syphilis. Blackbeard, Edward Teach, he had syphilis. Leo Tolstoy, the book he wrote should have been called War and No Peace at All. Bram Stoker, obviously had a lot at stake. Adolf Hitler, below the waist, on the Fuhrer. Al Capone, the gangster. I'm going to make you a rash you can't refuse. Magic Johnson, the American athlete. Is Johnson obviously far from magic. President J.F. Kennedy, a staunch Catholic, had an STD as a teenager that stayed with him his whole life. We think it was hepatitis B. Couldn't find out especially what it was. Christopher Columbus, yeah, whose real name was actually Cristofori Columbi. He infected the New World, and the crews of his ships ended up killing about 90% of the native people with disease. Napoleon, if you ever wondered why Josephine said, not tonight, no wonder. And, you know, if you remember, Napoleon's penis, they tried to sell at Christie's. I would not want to touch it under those circumstances. An actress called Tallulah Bankhead had gonorrhea. John Dillinger, the gangster, played by Johnny Depp in that film. He obviously came to an uncomfortable end. And Aleister Crowley. You see, when you look, you find stuff like this, and that would surprise me. Apparently, Aleister Crowley, the demon, the devil, El Diablo, and all the other names that he had, the world's most evil man. When he was 19, he caught gonorrhea from a prostitute and then kept sleeping with prostitutes, spreading gonorrhea all over the place. And then he caught syphilis because he kept sleeping with ladies of the night. There you go. Brenda got shoved at Chillingham Castle. Me too. I think you will remember. Last time I was there, I ended up on my back on the floor just outside the torture chamber. Marie loved last week's blah. Thank you, Marie. Sonia and Paul. Alan, The Curse of Tutankhamun. It's one of our shows on. Hang on, I have an image somewhere. I think it's this one. Is that it? I think it is. Yeah, there it is. The King of all curses, Tutankhamun. There's a lot more to it than you could ever imagine. And because we put that out, I've had a lot of response from people that have got it and listened to it. 7.5 hours. This is a full week's listen if you want it. And says, I had no idea just how far it went, right up to the present day. I wonder just how exciting it would have been to open that tomb, seeing inside for the very first time for thousands of years. And that made me think, what pictures were taken at the time they broke in, and what would they look like if they were coloured in? In other words, we could then see them for what Lord Carnarvon saw and Howard Carter. So I've got these for you, and I hope you like them. This is what they saw when they broke into the tomb. This is what they looked like. When they opened the lid of the sarcophagus, that's what they saw. In some of the other rooms, this is exactly what it looked like. Golden beds, amazing images of all descriptions, cabinets and cupboards. That is Howard Carter with some of his local labour, trying to read the hieroglyphics to see what they say. These are exactly like the rooms were at the time that they broke in. So you're seeing the tomb with their eyes for the very, very first time. Boats and vessels and boxes filled with richness, gold and silver and art, papyrus with more hieroglyphs on them. Obviously, they put numbers on them so they could catalogue what was there, so the locals didn't disappear with lots of these. The head of one of the gods, more boats, handmaidens carved so they didn't have to kill real people. They built some guards there as well. Just look at this, a sacred ankh, top right-hand corner. I don't know whether you noticed it. Lots of vessels, many of them having wine and potions and ointments in them to help him on his journey into the new world. One of the soldiers guarding the tomb, carved, obviously, the tomb of Sethos the First, that particular one. There were others buried alongside, some of them supportive of Tutankhamun. Another guard in the background with a spear. Part of a chariot for Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun was he had a whole range of health problems. He would never have been on a chariot, not with his health issues. Opening the tomb itself. And there's the tomb with the lid off with some of the cloths across it. In the room where previous pharaohs, and if you actually look above the panel on the left-hand side, there are images of craft from the stars. There's two of them featured on the panel if you look close enough. Amazing. You got to remember that most people believed that the pharaohs, along with many of the kings of the time, traveled down from the stars. And there is Lord Carnarvon himself, who didn't last long after the discovery. He put all the money forward for it. Just look at this. Amazing. And I think this is the last one. Images from the time, coloured in. This has been sent in by Tony. It is the pentacle that comes with that. And just let us know in comments when you want us to deliver it. So they'll all be signed as well. We make sure that we do that for you if you fancy them. Tony's little doings. Anyway, what else have we got? Here we go. Alan, if ghosts were real, celebrities would have seen them, and not these fakers that you see on television. I've actually got 2 full Robson's World shows where all of the people that I'd interviewed over the years, I always used to ask them, have you ever seen a ghost? And I got all of their stories, and it's surprising just how many people saw an awful lot. One of them, a guy from Savage Garden, Darren, hired an exorcist to try and clear up his house. Fascinating, amazing stories. Keanu Reeves saw a ghost as a child. Demi Lovato said her childhood home was haunted by a little girl called Emily. Ariana Grande had a demon, met a demon when visiting a castle. Miley Cyrus has seen numerous spirits. Matthew McConaughey's house has a ghost of a woman called Madame Blue. Cher and Jessica Alba, they've all seen spirit, and so many. And on the 2 shows that I've got covering celebrity ghosts, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis, Stevie Nicks, the Beatles, Stones, Springsteen. For those of you that believe in ghosts, trust me, you are in excellent, excellent company. I have to mention Sanai Taikachi. Have you ever heard the name? She's the new Prime Minister of Japan. She's at the present moment humiliating Donald Trump, who's visiting over there. She's the new Prime Minister, and she's a massive fan of Deep Purple and Iron Maiden. She used to be a heavy metal drummer. Wow. I'm sorry, but I think that Prime Minister, I think that is tremendous. Think of every drummer you've ever known. Then imagine them as Prime Minister. And then gawp in awe at what Japan have done. I'm not slanging off drummers. I know many a drummer that I love, but Prime Minister, pushing it a bit. Anyway, Jed says, you just get out of one icky where you were talking to me about trouble down there, sore points, if you would. Jed says, what's the worst toilet you've ever used? You travel around so very much. I had to give this a fair bit of thought because, yes, I do. And there was one time I was in Greece and I wanted a wee, and you enter the toilet and you have to pay. At the time, it was a little bit of drachma. It's probably euros now. I had to pay a few drachma. And I was standing having a wee, and I became aware that there was like a woman's head, like right there. And it was the lady who kept the toilets clean. And she said, toilet roll? I'm weeing. And I'm like, no, that way. I wash my hands after. I don't, but no thanks. I think you were just having a toot. Frankly, I'm sorry. Now, that wasn't the worst, because it isn't. Once I was in Paris, and they've still got a few where there was open toilets, where you walk in the toilet and you have a wee, but your head's staring out of the toilet. And I remember there was a group of like half a dozen really quite bonny French ladies standing right next to the toilet. And I was standing facing them, and they were all chatting. And their heads were like 2 foot from where I was weeing. I couldn't wee. I really wanted a wee when I went in, but that wasn't great. But the worst one was Glastonbury. I hosted some of the stages on Glastonbury on 2 separate occasions, donkeys years ago. And the second time that I was there, I needed to go to the loo. Now, traditionally, I could go backstage where all the acts were, but this was a really busy stage, and there were literally hundreds of people in the green room for that tent, the one directly backstage. And the toilet was literally full, right up to the brim. Poo, sick, wee, stinking. And this was in the posh bit. So, and I knew I was desperate to go, and it wasn't for a wee, which made it even worse. I ended up going to a portaloo. I used it. I just started cleaning myself, and I heard somebody shouting at me through the hole in the toilet, and there was some head case that had dove into the poo and was swimming along the channel of the men's toilet and then along the female toilets. That was back at a time when they separated them. They eventually turned them into toilets for anybody, but back then it was men on one side and then women. That was horrible. And I still have to be staring at it. And you don't want somebody staring up at you from the netty. A lot of people, though, famous people, have died in the toilet or on the toilet. Elvis on the floor of a toilet. The writer Evelyn Waugh died sitting on the pot. Catherine the Great from Russia, she died grunting and straining after suffering serious constipation. And she strained so much, she burst everything down there and died, bled to death. A man called Christopher Shale incidentally died in a portaloo at Glastonbury. He fell over the back into the pit, drowned. King Edmund Ironsides, we mention these people during whenever we're doing things connected to Vikings on the Ghost Historian. He was stabbed up the anus by a Viking hiding in his toilet beneath the pot. Got him. And also, you will know that people who are born in and around Newcastle are called Geordies because of King George. Yes, there were other things later on, Geordie Ridley, the Geordie Lamp, and Geordie Stevenson, and Geordie this, that, and the other. But the beginning of it all was because of two German kings called King George I and King George II. The second one was ill physically and mentally. He was very large. He was palsied. He sat on the toilet exploded, cutting him, making him bleed, and he was found dead on the floor. So one of the people that we're called Geordies after was him. So not really our proudest moment as a race. Lenny Bruce also died on the toilet. Jill and Paula said this: I just want to say how much we look forward to the Ghost Historian shows. We tried your Robson's World and we love them too. I can't wait to build up a really cool library. Please do. Thank you. Sandra. Hi, Alan. She sent in a place for us to go and visit on Wearside that we will very soon. She doesn't know any stories about the place. Neither do I. I shall see what's there. But I will by the time I get down there. So thank you for that. Pauline, such a mess on the radio. Not such a mess. Can I read that again? Pauline says, Alan, you are such a miss on the radio. I think both of those things are actually true. And Claire said, I love this show. Thank you. I particularly loved Jesmond. And also, where's my bit for Alistair? I think I've missed a bit about Alistair. Please bear with me because I don't want to miss Alistair because he's spectacular and special. Oh, there it is. Yeah, missed this bit. Alistair said that he loved the history that we did last week. He said it was amazing. Amazed we didn't get really lost. We did. And I wish I had a Fitbit on. It would have been spinning the dial, the amount of distance that we went to. Now, Alistair has been suffering recently badly with his health issue. As you know, he's suffering from Michael Parkinson's disease. And he has still managed to send some stuff through. He visited a place in Eyemouth called Guns Green. Now, Guns Green is where they used to have military batteries getting ready in World War II and the Napoleonic Wars for Hitler and Napoleon in their respective times. He caught something amazing and brilliant, and he got it on film. Now, I can't talk to you while he's doing his thing. It's 2 minutes of this. I think you'll love it. Alistair, really, really good job. Here you go.
Head for the middle. It's one of the defenders in close. You went to the defenders in, you're going in here.
There you go. Now, you caught a couple of images of Gunn's greenhouse, and just coincidentally, a guy that worked on one of the houses that I moved into on the borders works in that very office. So I've visited the place, know it well. Now, do you remember that wall that you saw that had all the little characters in it? That is a wall that's really clever. And Alistair filmed it a bit quick, Alistair, just a tip. Canny slowly, because those kind of things are things that we should all see. And if ever you go up to Eyemouth, have a look at that wall. Because back in 1881, there was a massive storm, something far less than what Jamaica's got right now, but a nasty storm. And 189 fishermen were lost at sea in the same storm. You know, a fishing fleet goes out, it was decimated. 189 fishermen drowned, leaving behind them 78 widows and 182 fatherless children. The fishermen, the widows, and the children are all represented on that wall. And what a glorious tribute it is. It deserves a much bigger plaque. And I know it's got like a small plaque that you can read. It should be sang out, because fishing in the North Sea, on days like Alistair got there, you would think, what a glorious time. But I must say that would you want to do it on a stormy night? I don't think so. Right, a couple of other things. John says, I really love the Roman shows that you do along the Roman wall. It's really full of information and history. Did they get lots of diseases living here in our weather? Well, a lot of the people that were classed as Romans didn't come from Rome. Many of them came from temperatures much further north, where the Romans had conquered them. So they weren't all Mediterranean folk by any stretch of the imagination. And some of them were Britons. Some of them were from Northern Europe, Scandinavia even, the Germanic countries. So they were used to kind of the similar kind of weather. I was tempted to say HIV, but you've got to remember that in Roman parlance, HIV is the equivalent of a high five. Anyway, Derek says, I would love to visit some of the places that you go, but I live in Dunoon in Scotland. Derek, anywhere in Britain you can get to by walking, if you've got the time. From there, it would take you a fair bit of time. What's the daftest thing you've done in the dark? Says Phil. He's the reason he asks that is he's just backed his car into the wall of his house, and it's going to be very expensive, he says. I'm not going to say whether this was me, but when I was rather young, late teens, I remember being in the dark in the countryside. I never camped, but one night a friend of mine loaned me this building that he had near a farm. It wasn't a caravan and it wasn't a chalet. It was kind of something in between, tatty as hell, and said, look, there's no electricity, there's no lights, but if you want to go up there with your girlfriend one night just to get away, and you can tell your parents that you're coming to stay at mine. I did all of that, went off with this girl. I was in absolutely the pitch black. And I had in a pocket somewhere a small little contraceptive device, a small square packet. Let's just leave it at that. And I finally got I took my jacket off, so a lot of stuff had spilled onto the cot-like bed, which it's not romantic at all. Don't think it is. It really isn't. I do look better in the dark, but it wasn't romantic. And I then couldn't find where this small prophylactic happened to be. And I remember, I went, oh, there it is. I picked it up, and I had an old-fashioned like bike torch that you used to be able to put on the front of bikes. You used to clip them on the front of a bike, and it had just one at the top, and you could light it up. This one, the battery was gone, so it was barely a torch, but it was in the shed. I didn't take it with me. It was just in the shed. Actually a shed, exclusive chalet. And so found it, put it on, and it was really super dim. And I reached for the prophylactic to discover it was not a prophylactic. It was an after 8 minutes. So that wasn't quite the night that I thought it may well be. But that all happened in the dark. It nearly happened. Well, not much really happened in the dark. Henry VIII, one of you sent a message in just simply saying, dirty chuffer. Jesmond, well, spooky at night, says Paul. Mark Gus sent in 99 stars. That's brilliant. Thank you. He remembers Chillingham when someone put their hand in the lake and somebody grabbed it. That was the story. And I put my hand in it. And when you put your hand in, there's weed that feels almost like somebody's hair moving around. It is quite creepy. Jacqueline, I mentioned last week that Jacqueline tried to download some stuff on Robson's World without success, and I put it right. She told me again she's tried this week, and we put a robot on apparently to stop spam, because we're being targeted by spammers. So, we've got one of the little ticks so we can keep everybody safe. So we addressed it by adding a robot, which stopped some of you getting on. It's being addressed right now. It only affects the odd one, but spoilers. Grr. Anyway, M. Jacobson sent this in, and it's a joke, really. Miss M. Jacobson says he was walking through a cemetery and he saw some kids next to a hole, a load of kids hanging around. So he just thought he would stand under a tree and just listen to what was happening. And apparently one of the kids had found a little dead robin redbreast. So they'd got hold of some cotton wool, put it in a shoebox, and they dug a hole in the cemetery to bury the red robin that no longer was bobbing. And they decided to ask the minister's son to come and do the ceremony at the graveside. And this man standing by under the tree, and the minister's son stands next to the grave of this little robin and says, "Glory be to the Father, to the Son, and into the Holy Ghost," which I thought was quite good. Deb says, having traveled all over, what are the worst creatures that you've come across? Done lots of these and had lots of nasty incidents, one sort or another. Thousands of spiders in Poveglia, the plague island. Wild dogs chewing me knee and sending me to hospital up the Carpathian Mountains in search of the trees where Vlad the Impaler impaled all of those Turks, because when the trees grew up, they took the Turks' bodies up with them, and the trees swallowed the Turks, and you can see skeletal hands coming out of the trees and bits of armor and stuff. It's fascinating. Didn't get a chance to see much of it. I was in hospital and had to have every single internal organ punctured with various injections because of the risk of serious diseases from the dogs. There were also bears and wolves in Lapland. I remember tying one of the team to a tree and leaving them there. In search of the Yeti, that's just cool because everybody there absolutely believes in it. And also red ants in a pit in New Orleans where they used to keep slaves. But I've got some pictures of just some creatures. You know, whenever you see horror films, I know you like, some of you like those horror films too, like I do. Do you know there's some really weird, real creatures on planet Earth that I think look worse than a lot of the monsters that we see on them? Stuff like this. This is a blobfish. You couldn't make a cartoon character looking like that, could you? Stuff like this. A mole rat. Completely blind. An axolotl, a lungfish. You can buy these for your aquariums, apparently. That is the head of a type of mole. That's his face. This one's evil. Don't know whether you've ever come across this before. This is a lamprey. They attach them to the side of fish. Some of them can be kind of this big. Most of them are about so big. But they latch on and they suck the blood of the creature that they're stuck onto. They have attached themselves to humans in the past, but that's rare. These are real critters as well we're talking about. A deep sea creature. What the hell is that? And if you saw it in a horror film, you'd say, it's too far-fetched. Too far-fetched. That's a red ant. You know, I was telling you about red ants biting me to bits in New Orleans. And that's a spider. Again, I always think that nature always manages to come up with far worse than what the cinema can. Louise at Chillingham. She's there right now, Louise, and she says, we're so gutted we'll miss you. Just have a ball. Enjoy every second. Squeeze the juice out of it. Dale says, do you remember me? You regressed me at Chillingham Castle. Yes, I did. Warren says, cracking new photograph. Looking forward to the show. Thank you very much. Rocking on. Phil has family that used to work in Jesmond. His auntie worked at the banqueting suite. Do you remember the last time we were there, the time before last week, and said that his auntie he's talked to about that ghost of Bessie that we caught in the window, and said there was the ghost of a girl that was known as Lisbeth or Bess, who suddenly disappeared. The people at the hall all thought that something bad had happened to her. How about that? Lee Maria is currently swanning it up in South Beach in Miami. And I put out a special on Robson's World this week. Now, I've already shown you the King of All Curses, Tutankhamun. The other one was this, Hell's Bells, Tales of Infamy. There's two covers. This is just one of them. Hell's Bells, it was called. And Lee Maria said that she's been missing her dad. Her dad's sadly no longer with us. And one thing that he always used to say was bloody hell's bells. And then all of a sudden, when she was feeling down, Robson's World released Hell's Bells. And it was almost like he was reaching out and sending her some kind of message. So that's nice to know. Just have a great time out there, but be careful. Careful. America is not the safest place on the planet to be at the moment. Viv says, Alan, I love Robson's World. The stuff is so varied. Loved Tutankhamun's show. Thought it was really spooky. And while we're at it, let's take a grab at some of the messages coming up. Blimey, there's quite a lot of them. Let me rattle through the longer ones. Sean, a member for 52 months. Wow. Tremendous. Thank you very much. Hello to everybody on here. We just wanted to hear you singing again, Alan, really. Heather, right of the screen, it looks like it's coming from the side of Tony, not directly behind Alan. You see, you've caught it, and I didn't catch it. Bugger, I'm going to have to watch it again now, aren't I? Kelly, We, Alan, so miss you on Night Owls. I've had to find an alternative go-to to help me get to sleep. I have to say you're looking well. Thank you very much, Kelly. And the whole point of me doing Robson's World shows is so that you can download something to listen, and you've got it there for you all week. And you can listen to a little bit every night till you're ready to go to sleep. That was the plan of Robson's World. A lot of people who were staunch night owls are doing that as a matter of course and loving it. So might be worth something you want to try. Alan, any chances of doing Chillingham again? I'm doing a tour, November the 12th. Excuse me. Chillingham is our Halloween special. On the night of Halloween, 9 o'clock, Halloween night, Friday the 31st. Okay, get ready for that. Stephen, great to see you reporting on the sites again. I was a great fan of Night Owls. Keep it up. Thank you. You should download from Robson's World. Alan has an amazing library of interesting downloads to listen to. Thank you very much, Lee. Any prospect of another one saying Chillingham? Yes, we're doing it. Do you know, I'm going to have to just quickly nip because I want to see that video again. So it's behind Tony, is it?
Look at that. There's the mill. There's an old mill by a stream, Nelly Dean. Oh, Nelly Dean. Bushy's on his way too. I can see his torchlight. Look at this. Doesn't matter where you are. It's a wet, rainy night. Look at the glories that we're showing you this evening. And always look out for the various spirit that's said to walk here. Somewhere along this river is that it was called a gilded pond, where the ancients would make their tributes in memory of those that had gone before. Before we leave, we're going down that dark bit.
Yeah, I don't know where that leads, but
I have no idea. No idea. But here is the mill. Look at the massive water wheel used to grind all that corn. Corn that would feed the poor. I think it was just great sending Paul after he'd felt something as vivid as having his colour pulled. Huge spider, Tony. See him? You got to see him. He's big enough, the size of a budgie. You see him?
pretty big.
Look at this place. The old mill. Once owned by Paddy Freeman and then the Ridleys. People have said that they've seen spirit here at the old Watercorn Mill. It's been here since 1739. Oh, do you hear that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's like stone.
It sounded
moving.
it sounded like it was just in here.
Can't imagine anyone moving stone at this
That
time.
was like, that wasn't like a pebble or anything. That was like,
even more frustrated now. Lee said, it also makes it harder to know what is supernatural or not now. When you genuinely think you've caught something, people will also say it's been tampered with. I know. This is why we give you, what we do, we give you the rough mix, which has all of the boring bits but it's everything we do as we do it. So you can say, I saw it all happen. So we can't manufacture anything. We don't want to. But we want you to see that we're not. And then Tony edits it and makes it look fancy Dan for a Sunday night. We Are Family. That's Adam says, Alistair, you're a walking, talking inspiration to all of us. And great video, Alistair. Beautifully captured. Paul says, cracking show last week. I've been to Jesmond Dean dozens of times. I've never been further than Pet's Corner and the playground with the bairn. I must go back. This is the thing. And that was the same for me when I was little. Pet's Corner, which was really, back in the day, it was like, here's a rabbit. Now they've got some fancy stuff in there, apparently. Alan, is the blah now for everyone or just for supporters? Just for supporters. We ask people if they want to join and become a supporter, but you have to be a supporter to watch it. Also, Alan, can you explain to folk why you will never be on radio again? Because it doesn't exist. Local radio have two types. You've got voluntary radio, which isn't a paid career. It's local people trying to run small digital stations. They're very, very small. A tiny little radio footprint. A beautiful one, but a tiny one. Then you have large national stations broadcasting from the south, from Manchester or from London. All of the local stations have no local coverage on at all now. That's how it is. They were bought out by large radio networks that have one radio station that they play across the country. And every local station plays the same national sound. The only thing that differs, they've got a local news station, so they can call it local. They're not local. That's the reason. And I've pivoted and I'm doing stuff that I think is very cool. You guys obviously love it because you're with the Ghost Historian. So that's where and why. Maria says, I must visit Jesmond Dean. Been years since I've been there. And Raymond said, Alan, did you once have a bad experience in Ireland that you don't like talking about? Something demonic, just a vague memory. It's not anything that I won't talk about. I've talked about it a lot. I visited a place called Charleville Castle. It's literally the very dot in the center of Ireland. And I went, it's a real long story. I don't particularly want to get into the really long story, but Freemasons built this house and they used it for demonic purposes to summon Satan and a lot of other stuff like that. Anybody that visited the castle, they put them in the cellar with the dogs, fed them to the dogs, didn't give the dogs anything to eat other than human beings. Nasty. And then when the people bought the castle after getting rid of these Freemasons, they built a chapel on the side to try and restore God to this castle. The chapel fell, sank into the ground, exactly one floor, so that the crypt was now 2 floors underground. Then underground was the actual church, and the upstairs of the church was the first floor. And I went into the hall, into the top floor of the church, then into the church itself underground with soil coming through the windows, and then down below that to the crypt. And something got a hold of my stomach. It felt literally like 2 hands were inside my stomach, just squeezing and squeezing. And I was very frightened, and I ran out and along and along and along and along and out the hall, and I vomited for almost 12 minutes. And I thought that the people back at the radio station would have got into a commercial break. They didn't. And I vomited for 12 minutes on the radio, probably the worst radio anybody has ever heard. But no, it wasn't anything that I won't talk about. Obviously, I've just talked about it. Also, so thank you very much for that. I've got something else coming your way just before we go. Stephen says, I love the shows. I lived in Heaton next to Paddy Freeman's. Great times. The pictures. If you want the pictures, I've had a few comments to me phone more than I've had to the comments thing. Wednesday night, that's tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we have 40 pictures and amulets. 40. First come, first served. Tony will put a link up at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. First come, first serve. That's just seems the simplest way of doing it. Now, pictures. I always try and come up with a few pictures. And one of them, you were asking before about what is the worst like critter that I've ever come in touch with. Here's a picture of it. Any idea what that is? Now you see the size of the finger there. This is not a huge thing. Because we've been talking about Jamaica tonight, when Paulo was my producer, we went to Jamaica and we went down the Black River, which has heavily been affected. It's deep underwater at the moment, that whole river basin. When we were on it, you go down the Black River on these bamboo rafts, guided by one of the river workers there. And I asked him to stop and pull over because there's an area on the Black River, apparently, that has these creatures. They're called kangaroo. These are the very beasts that if you urinate in a river, they swim up that's accurate, the stream of urine and swim into the man's urethra, living in the penis. And the only way to get them out is to cut the penis in half to remove them, and you're never quite the same again. So I said to Paul, look, here's some gauze, put it around the end of your penis and then have a wee, and we'll see if we can catch a kangaroo. And it could have gone very, very badly wrong. But we caught a kangaroo. Those of you that remember listening to the show will have heard that actually happen. Amazing. I want to show you a couple of amazing pics, and I mean amazing pics. What do you think this is? This is the restaurant on the top floor of one of the Twin Towers before it was knocked down. Now, when you realize you're that high in the sky, can you imagine being so panicked that you would jump out of a window, which is what people did? But when we're talking about amazing pics, let's have them. Two German children collecting rifles in the street from dead soldiers. You know, we quite often talk about people working in factories, young kids working in factories. Here's a young boy. He's 9. He's just lost 3 fingers off his right hand in a lathe accident. You'll see if you look at the man on the right-hand side that they're carrying, half his face has been literally burnt off, and yet he still wanted a cigarette when he was being rescued from a balloon accident. The Battle of Waterloo. This is actually part of a man's spine, including the musket ball that was stuck in his spine that killed him. Wife wanted some kind of memorabilia from her husband's death, took his spine and a musket ball, which is a bit odd. That's just a very cool memorial. I just saw it and thought, oh, you got to go with that. That's pretty special. This is Harry Houdini on the left-hand side, proving that you can fake table tipping. He's got his shoe off, the end of his sock cut out so that he can pick up a bell with his toes and ring it. To everybody's surprise, the ghost is ringing a bell. Oh, hell's bells. Back in the day, if you didn't get injected to protect yourself from smallpox, that is how you looked. Also, in Victorian times, you could have a double coffin so that you and your wife could lie in literally the same grave. At the end of the war, all of the planes that they captured just went to scrap. Now, I don't know about you, but if you look at the plane, the biggest plane, right in the middle, look where the pilot sits. That is the pilot, isn't it? Isn't it? Looks like him. My grandfather a guy who worked down the pit in Leamington. His name was Stan Green. It's me mum's dad. This is what he used to do in the First World War, carry artillery shells on horses through the mud all day and all night. Must have been a hellish thing to have to do. Now, I know we've got at least one archaeologist who's part of our throng. This is what a Roman road looks like if you cut a section out of it. That's what it looks like. Just shows you how skilled they were. Now, you see the Roman wall, all that distance. There were Roman roads linking them all together with all of that going on underneath them. Amazing. This is people sleeping in the park when they came back from the war and their homes had gone. This is a man that Sisu, if you've ever seen the film Sisu, great film. This is the sniper who killed all of those thousands of German troops. He got shot in the face, but he kept on firing like you do. In the 1960s, these kind of things happened. People would drive around in 1950s and 60s in cars because people couldn't afford to go to the rich, expensive beauty parlors, and people hadn't started doing the affordable ones. So a roadside beauty service opened up. Also, I remember these coming around. A guy would stop in the middle of the road and then ring a bell, and you'd know, oh, the knife sharpener's there. He would clean pans, sharpen knives, and do all that kind of stuff. Never seem to see these characters anymore. Definitely of their time. 2 electric cars. Electric cars during Victorian times. Who knew? This is a Vietnamese child arresting an American soldier, or an American airman, looking more likely. One of the world's first ever submarines. Would you trust that? Not likely. I love this. I've never seen anything more British than this. Now, they had one of these, top of Wickham Bank. And it was AK guns firing at German planes during World War II. And there they are, hammering away while the Germans are trying to bomb, probably Vickers Armstrongs or something like that. And where is everybody? Can I have a sausage sandwich? They're all at the food truck, and who could blame them? Love it. Love it. These are how women used to get dressed at the beach. When I used to get dressed, they'd give me like a big bath towel, and you'd have to do your best to try and get your swimmies on. This is a ghost historian jumper that one of our number has knitted for themselves. I think they've done a very, very good job of that. Well done. And this came in from Adam. Newcastle Central Station from back in the day. Beautiful looking. And also, we got one of our number, and again, I must have obviously missed a particular bit of it, saying that when we were doing one of our ghost hunts, there was an image where we filmed a shelf. I think it was in the mining cottage maybe that I fell down. But in one of the cupboards, there was these toys on display. And one of us has gone back through the show that we did to show us that the toy, or some of the toys, had moved. Look at where the toys are there. We went back in later that night, literally about 2 or 3 hours later. And they don't look the same. Pretty cool. And that is it. That is us pretty much done. Do not forget that tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, if you want the photograph and the amulet, love you to help us with them if you can. It's Tony's idea to try and obviously help the channel and get us into other places. We have 2 clues, but you already know where we're going, so I think they are, in fact, a waste of time. The clues are a country in South America and a quick bowl that's often served in American diners. A quick bowl of something that you would eat at a diner. 2 clues. That's where we're going on the night of Halloween. The show will begin at 9 o'clock. Happy Halloween. And until we're back together again, keep your eyes open on Robson's World, please. And we'll see you Friday night from that dark place. And until then, thanks for being with me on the show. Till we're together again. Good night. God bless you. And I wish you well. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being with us. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.